smart enough to say you're fast. They also seem to know about non-self. The threat to respond to you is no different. See that, the others hurriedly said they were coming. Hurry up, and let's all fly away. After a while, the people went to the tower. The tower was engulfed in flames. This is Black Kai Thap. It's located on the 8th floor of the 9th floor. Thousands of people were here very quickly. The closer it gets, the higher its heat. One has to stop. He said this black inflammation that can make my soul. There is no way to go deeper. He looked forward and said, those Black Kim guys aren't affected by SAO. It turns out that this inflammation doesn't work with low VI. When he finished, a man fell down next to him. He stood up and said, I don't believe you. When you're done, run straight inside. But a fire broke out and consumed him. He screams in pain. The photographer came back and said, only a few resilient marine souls can withstand. Otherwise, there is a stronger VI. Can't fight black inflammation. The revolution continues to move forward. I feel like cool. It's getting closer and closer. Come to me. I feel like my soul is burning. I turn to ask anxiously, do everyone's friends have SAO? 1,000 times don't be too self-indulgent. Ipitsu replied to me, why? I can't tell you, I didn't say anything. The others shouted, I have no problem. I have no problem moving forward. The photographer thought it was right. The techniques we practice are the strongest. Just talking about the spirit of the ring was a rare genius. It's hard to find. The photographer stepped on one of his feet and said, well, let's go. In front of the black inflammation tower, the photographer thought this inflammatory murmur was built. It's too subtle. Don't know is the false power in this dark tower of inflammation. And then you said, it's extraordinary. There was a guy who just came in and ran out. Cry out bitterly. The others were not surprised. You're out too. 6 nervous adventurers say a lot of people just walked in and ran out. It's much nicer outside than inside the tower. The photographer told us to come in. South Guard rubbed his head 6 and said, let's go. So the group of 6 reporters came in. I was nervous for a while. Then go back. Inside the tower. Some people complain it's too hot inside. Another name landed. What better way to sit here than to get the idea? The detractors were also able to get into the black box. The first floor tower. Look around, the photographer rang up. Watch out, most people stopped on the first floor. Why do you want to go up, or? Look behind. Right now, a black flame enveloped the body of the sword. The old men over there are complaining again. Unfortunately, at a young age, he was abandoned. Park Z screamed in panic. It's not good. The sword was also destroyed by the black inflammation. IP2 Van also shouted. The photographer worried. But in the war, my soul doesn't feel it at all. High's soul of the sword is weakening. It's actually getting stronger. The sword is laughing now. The photographer approached and asked for the sword. The sword answered, my master does not know this inflammation. It doesn't hurt us. You can also level up the lake. My strength, you say? The more burned, the faster the speed of the sea soul grows. The photographer also understood Ra and said Ra was that. You have black dragon blood. Black dragon is the one who controls black inflammation. This is too coincidental. People who are so breathless speak up. Let's go upstairs. Make the people next to you empty of words. This time, there is no big pressure. The guys who heard that started screaming. What is this? Many people suffer from black stings and are still alive. We're just meditating here. The power is running out. The other guy replied, he's probably not human. The name Kier says again, I'm not talking about people. You said I meant someone. It's not just people. Walking on the stairs. The photographer says every step on this ladder. The heat of the black inflammation is more intense. People pay attention to protecting their souls. The photographer said we're going to the 3rd floor. When I saw the photographers go to the AI, they all looked back. To the 6 exclamations through the 3rd floor. Only 200 to 300 people. Remind your friends to be dedicated. Black inflammatory response. The black inflammation on the 2nd floor is much stronger. Find a place to practice. Find the right location. Sit down and say this. When I sat down, I was startled. Coincidentally, the owner is sitting very close to you. I looked at him and said there was an enemy. When the owner sees you, he makes you nervous. Then the master also turned his face and continued to practice. The photographer frowned silently. He has a tremendous amount of power on him. Beyond all of us. This time the sword spoke to the photographer. Owner, we don't need to practice here. We can also raise our cultivation level to VI. Don't worry, everyone. I will guard for everyone. The photographer said, thank you for the sword. Then think again. I think no one wants to fight in this dark tower. He closed his eyes and began to practice speaking. I don't care if it borrows the activation of black inflammation and strengthens the VI. Then the legend breaks. Now all sorts of dark laws have been triggered. Inside the soul, your light, the darkness of death. All the black inflammation is absorbed by the vitreous. The minister looked at me and said, there are some of you. People who are not simple. Then suddenly he laughed. He looked around for a turn. IP2 Van Pepper stopped children's sword fire season. Next look at the owner. He said, this young man may have the greatest gift. Except for him, there are some people who are NDTO. At this time, the owner glanced at the sword photographer. I can feel it. Turn your head and look. I thought this guy had a problem with the owner. But the owner just smiled. And then I went through the photographer. The sword was threatened by his anger. I think too hard. Then look at Theo thinking more. Looks like he just wants to go upstairs. Or don't cause unnecessary conflict. Suddenly, there was movement. If you are smart enough to love the owner, you get upset. He sped up his walk. Go up the stairs and say the first. I saw 2 people go upstairs. Others talk smart talk. With another young man upstairs. I was reluctant to practice on the 2nd floor. The fire didn't give up. She stood up and left in everyone's amazement. The young man also stood up. Follow the fire. Go upstairs. At one point, more than 10 people went upstairs. Strong over here. The vibe of the photographer never ceases to radiate. Retreat cultivation 10 self-determination infinity. Infinite hydrologic black inflammation. It never ceases to enter the soul of the sea. Infinite, unfathomable, unfathomable, unfathomable. Climbing branches grow endlessly. It finally blooms a yellow flower. High soul exploded. Energy is constantly expanding raw. Inspire the spirits of the other sea. This giant spiritual current, it also makes your soul bigger. IPZ shouted unpleasantly. Snow Pepper, 6 Adventure, are stunned. 6 Adventure said, an incomparable flow of Kai power. My sea soul. Snow Pepper also shouted High Soul wants to explode. Stopping children is equally unpleasant. That's 10 times more accurate than when the sword was leveled up. Vietnam, your face distorted. Try to say, it does not stop the soul of the dead. People carefully protect their high soul. After receiving this tremendous amount of power, IP2 Van has been the most outstanding transmission of children's stillness. I have been working hard for 2 years. It's also a 2-star transmission. Chu School Tuan Trong Min 6 Adventure has also been on the most legendary star. 6 Adventurous Pink Breathing said, "The power comes at this time. The soul is still burning around the body of the photographer. I know you said photographer. The power of photography has helped us move up." Chu School Tuan said, "If our happy souls are not strong enough, maybe it's been blown up." 6 Winking Talk. This photographer is a pervert. The photographer has also opened his eyes. 2VI has reached the most extraordinary transmission. The photographer stood up and laughed and said, "Let's go to the 3rd floor." I heard that. Everyone around the AI was startled. "What's going on?" Someone said, "Upper body teenager Kier appears but dynamic. The air is extremely terrorist, too dangerous. And I thought I couldn't tease him." The photographers went upstairs. All look according to fans. In black Kai Thap inflammation, the 3rd floor to the end, I said in admiration. This 3rd floor seems much smaller. Suddenly, the animal opened its mouth and screamed. Make 6 adventurers jerk, all I scream. Who is who? What is this? In front of my eyes, all big animals with sharp claws. It's kind of like a unicorn. The animal screams out loud to threaten. Again 6, too scared to stick to the wall, squealing. The Southern Guard said it was too bad. But the chains are red. Pull the Kier animal jerking back behind. The chain constantly oppresses the animal. Then the animal was silent. I asked the photographer in horror, "What kind of love is this?" He said it was a strong feeling like this. If there were no chains, we would die here. He laughed and said, "You were lucky." I don't know what the surprise is. The photographer explained that this is a heavenly animal. The unicorn lover Kier continues to growl furiously. Listen to that. He replied, Ra is a lucky angel. Laughing, I can't close my mouth. I peep to wonder why the sky loves Sao. The photographer explained, High soul of Dutrach. It's the form of the sky. But the love of heaven is suitable for him. I also know that when I say that, that is what I say. Adventure, again the question. But Sao can get love spirit here. We didn't fight it back. The angry animal glowed with its eyes. And then he goes for a walk and poses. 6 adventurers afraid to drop their pants screaming fear. 6 adventure said, Look, those who came before were probably eaten by it. Let's say it's possible. This place can't practice. They must have gone to the 4th floor. 6 when he finished listening, he rolled his eyes and looked at the photographer. What level is this favorite after all? The photographer explained, this animal must not have grown up. That's why this chain can be controlled. When the child heard that, ask him. A unicorn that loves to grow up. What level can we finally reach? The photographer replied, I'm not sure you understand. 6 be wise and talk and talk. The photographer must run out of words. The photographer explained, this spirit is equal to the power of heaven. But in the sky, there are planets. Long dance tone. The unicorn has the worst endowment. You can also train up to 6. After listening to 6 stories, I really don't understand anything. Park Trach asked questions. There are many worlds in the gods. Why do I think the gods? It's already extreme. Glad to say. Later you will understand. The legend is just the beginning. And Goddess Grace is so strong. Even if it's small, we also feel its infinite potential. The photographer thought, although the tiger of Dutrach, growing up at the same level, but compared to the sky, it is far behind. When I look at the sky, I think, now is the chance to get a pet. It's right in front of you. It's absolutely impossible to ignore. She sat on the photographer's shoulder and asked the photographer, "You are really prepared. Deal with this animal-loving unicorn Sao." The photographer laughed confidently. "Then tell me you love the unicorn. The old man has been listening for so long. You should also express your opinion." It's hard to understand who's listening. I looked at the 6 stupid questions. Who are you talking to? At this time, the animal replied, "Little devil, you want to kill me and steal my soul." What age 6 panic adventure talking. The photographer came closer to me. He said that he was locked up here by the devil. Probably not pleasant. The animal has nothing to do with you. The photographer continued, "I've heard that unicorns are a special race. Every bird loves to leave the herd. You don't need a partner. The angels in their bodies are treasures that all dreamers want too. I love watching you," he continued. "You're not a teenager, so you have not yet formed. That's why I'm locked up here. I don't know who wants to use you to feed Dan." The angel of love came close to him and asked, "What are you people thinking about?" The photographer replied, "I have a way to get you out of here. You're not supposed to be locked up here. It's like cattle killed for their underwear." Hear that? The angel of love is angry. Scream, you say. Who is cattle? Chu Min said, "You're now compared to cattle waiting to be slaughtered. What's different? The first is waiting for you to grow up. The interior is forming, killed by someone else." The noble beast looked at me and said, "Boy, I know what you mean. You want to kill me too. They stole my soul." It's easy to hear, but it's no different. Listen, friends too began to doubt the lives of the photographer answered, "We really want to love your soul. There is no need to kill you." The angel said, "Let me hear it." The photographer pointed to Park Z and said, "As long as you are willing to become a French soul, together with your friend, mine, your body will automatically degenerate into a spirit of love, into his sea soul." He then kindly raised his hand to say hello. The angel loves to laugh, ha ha ha. He sat up and said, "Auto-degenerate. It's no different than being killed. Don't think we're that easy to fool." The photographer crossed his hand. "Of course, it's not like if you form a spirit seal. Automatically degenerate into love spirit. It's still a sense of self-control. Wait until your master dies. You are free." I winked and said, "Our human lifespan is no more than 100 years, compared to a long life of the heavenly unicorn. You're truly a drop in the sea." God loves to hear the words of God. Also interested. It's waving its ears constantly, and Park Z is worried and thinking. Living in the soul of the sea, I feel a little dangerous. Then he looked at the photographer's confidence. "You should think something." The photographer seemed to have planned it. "I'm curious what he's got." The animal-loving unicorn continued to laugh out loud. "Heavenly unicorns love to speak. I agree to your terms." The photographer immediately reached out his hand. "First, give me some of your blood." The devil threatened to say it was impossible. Danced next to me thinking, this animal was very active before. I'm afraid I want to find a chance to hurt you. Take back your freedom. I think you have the blood of God. There's a chance to overpower it. They say there is no blood. How did I become a French soul? The angel of heaven glowed with his eyes. I've never heard of this kind of mantra before. Don't lie to me, I have my own blood. Tired photographer said, if you don't know, that doesn't mean there isn't. There are thousands of secrets in this world. You don't know it's normal. I still can't believe you keep talking. Don't assume I don't. I know you want to kill me. I will not give you blood. The impatient photographer said that love is love. Now my mouth is always open. I regret it now. He threw his face up in the sky and said, unless you can think of another way, immediately take measures. That's out of the negotiation. You said you chose death. When I heard the animal ask, why? What can you do for me? If Lao Tzu could break free from this shackle, do not escape. The air began to heat up with gunfire. 6 adventurers startled by fear. And Park Zak is depressed to call the photographer. If you say no, leave. We are not its opponents. The Lord said, give it to me. After this game, we go upstairs. I confidently looked at the angel and said, today, I decided to take it down. The dog looked at me, he continued. So don't blame me for stepping into your shoes. Angry animals stomp their feet hard on the ground. Then threaten stupid humanity. Only you want me to obey. The same level as you. He also killed countless people. How much is it? He continued, even though we're in chains. You can't hurt me either. The old man replied, this is what you said. Then come back and talk. Give me some of your blood. The sword immediately heard the answer. So this guy started rolling up his sleeves. Then open your mouth and bite into your hand. Blood flows out clean. 6 adventurers spill words, look at words. See, only the sword can hurt. Himself. He's got 8 blood on his hand, and the photographer says he's bothering you. Look at the blood. You are powerless to think. It doesn't need that much blood. Photographer calves the pot into place. I started using my hand as a pen. Right. Draw a pile of civilizations on the floor. Very quickly, the 4 sides of the unicorn have been drawn. Civilization. 6 foolish adventurers asked the photographer what this text is. The photographer replied, the sword's blood contains the power of black inflammation. Very strong, he explained. And these lines, to help summon some of the black inflammation in the tower. I saw the black air rising from the battlefield. I'm scared to say it's dangerous. I can tell you from here. It's burning, photographer. He also said he locked you up here. I am sure this is your weakness, he said. How do you feel about being bossy? The sky flashed smoke again. Why do you want me to give up? The photographer frowned. Let's see what that is. He waved his hand and shouted a burning sentence. And then the black inflammation just kept burning. This scene was faked by some people. The world looks across the lake. Observed. The phrase to speak, you've said it before. This man's understanding of scripture goes beyond. People don't believe that. I've seen it now. A guy in black said, this man's way of looking at the scriptures is extraordinary. More talented than people. He continued with the envoys. Last time you were unhappy. But should the genius be satisfied this time? But don't forget the agreement between us. He just left and said more. The first disciple must be chosen by God first. A grinning old man. We will obey the law. A woman speaks up. One of us is from the shimmering world. She went on. Even if we don't share the same religion, don't. He looked like a stranger dressed in black for an hour. A white-haired old man spoke up. The lovers of the shimmering world. He was loved by God, almost exterminating other organisms in the world sample. In the last 1,000 years, there are very few geniuses in the world. There are only dreams. Sometimes there's a little genius. He added more to this world. It's like salt leaving the sea. A chicken-crested patty confirmed. The man in black said, there are countless small worlds in the long confrontier. Countless people are waiting to be chosen. Even when love is strong. As long as we act together, they can't do anything. The old man nodded in appreciation and said very well. Then sighed deeply. The girl laughed and said, I don't know whose hand the vault will be in. I wonder who my father thought he would be. The man in black dress thought, the best photographer here. Ask the angel, any animal that hasn't surrendered yet? Purple-haired woman, says photographer, even though that young man had some understanding of the as deep as a discussion about cultivating endowments, not as scared as the gray-haired young man. She went on, the young man is quite good. I'm afraid to have the highest body in the legend. If God doesn't want to, it seems that we have benefited from the angel. The man in black said, recruiters don't necessarily want to recruit the best talent. I feel the NDTO female photographer. The white-haired bearded man continued. To the angel's turn to choose. He asked the woman, Lin Yun. She will choose the young Kier Sao. Lin Yun replied with a smile, if we don't choose him, can you let me choose 2 people? What are the other people startled to hear? Angel Fuzzy Tone does not choose Team Kier. Lin Yun laughed and said, I am also old now. He chose this young man as an unavoidable disciple. Some people talk nonsense. I felt 2 little heads next to him. Give those 2 to me. Lin Yun laughed more. There are 2 female students. If you are sad, there is someone to talk to. The old man smiled and asked, Lin Yun still knows how to calculate exchange 1 for 2 without holes A. But if little Yun had this idea, we don't refuse either. The old man glanced at the lake and said, look out, Kier youth, we'll finally get back to the Secret Service. I want the one with the black dragon veins. Over there, the sword is running out of words looking at the animal. I love the unicorn is cursing. Come shot. Are you good at fighting a battle with Lao Tzu? Let's see if Lao Tzu tries to tear you apart and throw you to the dogs. I'm not just good at showing up. Fight a battle with the dead. He kept cursing, and he had to run out of words. I've never seen a beast like this. In the end, it's learning from the real AI that has to capture it. Laughing, of course. I loved animals for a long time. And half an hour later, he was swearing at his teeth. Puffy breathing. The photographer is tired of saying he's finally shut up. Come back and tell me to keep practicing. Wait a minute, I can cook the wild unicorn. After listening to the celestial unicorn startled screaming, Kid, how do we negotiate terms again? The photographer laughed cunningly. As you say, give me your blood first. I love animals for an hour. He looked at me and bared his teeth and said it was a long time. Let me give you my blood. That's not possible. If we're actually burned to death by blackheads. Do not dream of love. Because I will take care of myself with love. The photographer shrugged back. Just don't get the love spirit. You killed so many people. I will kill you today as if to change the world. He laughed arrogantly and said he could not get the spirit. Of course, it's a pity, but I heard that all the animals in the sky are treasures. You listed Ra's lover. The chief loves you. You say there's a love. Heard, the priority of the animal lover is also the great. IP2 Van heard the blush say. I don't know. I'm so excited to ask my friend. What Kier really prioritizes is food supplements. Stu Barnship. I love animals screaming at the cowardly little people. You are dead, Lao Tzu. The dead will not let you be as you wish. 6 big jokes. They say you can be violent, love and love at the same time. The crowd had the opportunity to laugh. Heavenly Unicorn loves to swallow water. Foam squeaks a shot. He thought sadly clearly just a little less. You just need to be able to kill 100,000 fake powers. Then we can take a step of inner knitting. Enter Heaven's destiny. He was finally beaten up by a crazy old man. Locked in this black inflammatory tower, permanently burned by black inflammation. It's looking at the 2 obnoxious faces of the photographer and the 6 adventurers. Then think again. Now even these little devils ride on her head. It's a tiger down on the plane. Think about it and breathe out. Then reluctantly told me to give up. It's powerless to tell us to renegotiate the terms. 6 adventure loud voices. Don't negotiate first, deliver blood. Or flat. Favorite. The angel breathed and said to me, give it to you. But you have to take this battle back. After listening, the photographer began to dispel the battle and said, is it easier to surrender early? Another battle is recorded. The fire also disappeared. I love to breathe a sigh of relief. Now the eyes change to a different state. What do you use to store my blood? The photographer remembered it now, and threw the pot out to the wild unicorn, and the angel loves the beast and lifts his leg. It's also learned that the sword bit deep into its leg. Then a stream of blood flowed down the pot. He told the photographer, there's blood here. How are you going to use it? The photographer replied, I use this blood to put the spirit seal on you. I was surprised and said, oh. Come here, the photographer suddenly said, wait. You kicked the pot of blood first, animal. The sky seemed unsatisfied. The photographer replied, I know that I love the blood of animals. Your house is good. Please give me some more pots before spoiling. The devil is impatient and tells you what you want to do. Come and get it if you want. The photographer told you to kick it over here. We went there. The 6-year-old also seems impatient. Tell Kier. If you have heard it, do it quickly. Want to try ROI? I love that I'm out of words right now. He looked at the French at his feet. Then he kicked the pot of blood back to the photographer. Both sides take care of each other. The unicorn of heaven loves to stone pots of blood out of the middle and pretend that the chain is too tight. This is too far for me. Can you get it yourself? You can't tell me to push more. 6 adventures here remind this photographer. Photographer laughed contemptuously. 6 adventurers do not know when to take the light out. Hold it in your hand and say, don't look at me quickly. So he's swinging ROI over a pot of blood. It's like a spark that blows ROI apart. 6 spiritual adventures say our ROI. What do 6 angry people say? The angel now pretends to say, don't you know anything? I'm still chained here. It also reminds me that he was careful. The photographer replied, I know that. So he's moving forward. Tell the angel of love. Let me get it, myself. IP to Van Pepper paused to remind children. Be careful, but Zack assured her not to worry. The photographer has figured it out. He won't say anything. See the photographer up close. The angel of love opened his eyes wide with excitement and thought, good he came. This one is focusing on love. If you take a few steps, stop. The animals think that this distance is beyond our control. He seems to have guessed. Did you get my mind? Let me see how you can love your blood. The photographer turned into a tiger panda and then unleashed a fearsome aura trick. Heavenly Unicorn loves to see 2 streams of lawsuit. Then startled, say you want to steal. I love to say, even if we're locked up. You can't stop it either. It's in his mouth. There's an electric lightning sphere. It sprayed a lightning bolt, hit towards the two streams of the photographer's practice. VA hit the landslide. He was so bright that his friends exclaimed loudly. Too strong to stop the attack. Tell everyone to cover. They use long-range magic. Consecutive moves hit Ra, but the angel of the beast was unharmed. He joked that you were scratching me. I want to love my blood. There's no door. If you're up, don't expect to leave. So it opens its mouth and launches a lightning bolt. The photographer saw that and thought it was a good opportunity. Immediately turned to identification. Then take out the bullet. I don't hesitate, and threw the orb straight into the mouth of the unicorn. The angel of love was blown up by bullets for out of mouth. Take advantage of the opportunity. He used his love photo to run to the blood pot. When I saw you holding the pot of blood, I screamed, understand. He threw a pot of blood at his fellows. God loves animals right now. Watching blood in the air. Drinking glasses full of confidence. And IP died and disappeared. Nie seemed worried. The 6 adventurers are also nervous. The animal lover is very angry. It sends out countless pulses of electricity towards the photographer. When the pot is thrown in front of the trash park. It's also the time when the photographer gets caught up in the lightning. It's not okay to yell. The photographer's been hit. Heavenly Unicorn delights in laughing. Tell me how you got it. You yourself have to stay. He grabbed me with 2 feet in front of him. But at the feet of the wild unicorn, there's no feeling. He looked at the empty ground and was stupid. He rubbed around looking for this so SAO could talk. Look at the photographer in the distance. Ask yourself why you escaped. Photographer used love photos to hide his body. And then he shows up next to the blood pot and he says, you don't need no 6. The blood of God's love of animals rises. And ask the photographer what to do with this blood. He shook his hand and said, give it to me. He continued to paint the ground. Seeing that, the angel of love asked in a panic, why did you paint French? You will not swallow your words. The photographer just finished painting. There is no integrity. I want to be burned to death. Don't use your blood. To stop you from haunting us again. I love you now sighed, a little irritated. Photographer explained next. I will use your blood. Right on Dutrach's people. From now on, you will be ruined and merge with Dutrach's spirit of high. Put your hands behind your back and say, only the French can solve this problem. So don't even think about harming him. The animal lover asked again, if he dies unintentionally, why? The photographer replied, we don't know what happens after that. You'd better not let that happen. The beast replied, okay, I'll try to protect him. Then he opens his mouth, but if he's unlucky. If you die, you must free me. Parksy eloquently declared me. He has always been very honest. Just follow me 55 until then. I will release you anyway. God loves to have fun. He breathed and thought it was finally over. Heaven and combined with Trash Park successfully. The future will be an amazing one. Now, we want to support our team as much as we can. It's hard to help them when they're in the long zone. Then face the Holy Emperor again. I'm sure we won't be alone this time. At this time, the magic has started to activate. The father's big chains caught him. This animal-loving angel screams. Why is the chain? It's black. It says we can't move. The photographer said, of course, you don't have to move. We just need to move. So he picked up the bucket of blood and started painting.